Drag racing's been around since the first 32 Ford Coupe was handcrafted into a fire-breathing, tire-smoking hot rod back in the 1950s. Since then, organized drag racing has evolved over the decades with pioneers like Jungle Jim, Snake and Mongoose, and Big Daddy Don Garlits becoming household names in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So strap in, because we're about to take you back to those nostalgic drag racing days right now on 0 to 60 TV. Galot Motorsports Park near Dunn, North Carolina is the site of the Nostalgia Drag Racing and Muscle Car Shakedown the second weekend of October. This is the place to see hot rods, all kinds of drag racers, classic muscle cars, rat rods, and more.
Good morning. Today we have John Lapore all the way from Brooklyn. His car is called Ingenue, and let me tell you something about Ingenues. Grace Kelly was an Ingenue, Audrey Hepburn was an Ingenue, but not as pretty as this Buick. Look at that. Look at the lines on this car. How many horsepower we have here?
Probably about 1,200, I would say.
Yeah, and what are we going to do 0 to 60 here?
Oh, 0 to 60 would probably be about 2 seconds, maybe, a little bit less. This is a car that my father made in 1967. He built this car. It means a lot to us.
So there's heritage here.
There's a lot of heritage.
So you know I love to talk racing, and any chance to come out to the drag strip like we are today for the Nostalgia Drag Racing event, Muscle Car Show, is my idea of heaven right here. I've got Bill Klein with Linwood Welding Race Team, and you've got this classic dragster, just like, I mean, this is the original dragster from the 60s, right, Bill?
That's correct. It's original. This car was built in 1961, and pretty much everything on it is original to the day that we raced it back in the 60s.
So, Bill, tell me how it would be for the driver in this thing, because this is the original old school. We did a little bit of learning how to drive a dragster down at ZMAX last year, but of course, today's dragster, the engines are behind you. This thing, you're sitting behind the rear end, and the engine is in front. What kind of sensation does the driver have in a car like this?
Yeah, well, this car here will not reach the speeds of today's fuel dragsters, but this was a real challenge to drive because most of the places we ran on, tracks weren't prepped. They were old airports or some new drag strips that were built in the Virginia, North Carolina area. But and we ran these cars on nitromethane, and this car here would run about 180, 185 miles an hour. 867 was the range that we drove them in back in the day. But to drive it, it was a real handful. Mainly the track and all, and you didn't have a lot of room to stop like you do today. We had the regular 53 wheel shoe brakes on the back of them like you have on a regular passenger car. But it was quite a sensation to drive, and I enjoyed every minute of it, and still take it around for the Bilbo family today.
We turn the page and we come to a chapter that's just amazing. We have here Ron Zavarella from Florida and his car, the ET Shaker. Now, I'm pretty sure that ET stands for extraterrestrial because look at this machine. Can you just tell us about this world beater?
ET is Elapsed Time Shaker. Back in 1968, Neil Papiellis out of Detroit was the first driver of this car, and he set the NHRA national record at 8:50, which is 8.5 seconds. So he's won numerous events. He runner-up at Indy in 1969, national record holder. My family was out of Connecticut back in those days, and my father purchased the car from Ellis and Laramie, and we took it to Division I, and we raced it. And my older brother drove it and had a lot of success up in Division I. And then I took a turn behind the wheel and I drove it from 72 to 74, and I won the Grand American, which was a American Hot Rod Association series. and I have the New England Dragway track record with it. So we've had 3 drivers with a lot of success, a lot of history now. The car appears absolutely original to when it was first built by Logie Stamping Company out of Detroit. When I started driving the car in '72, I wanted to put my own spin on it, so I repainted the car and did the car over, and that's the '72 paint job. The car still appears in beautiful condition today like it did back then.
All right, Arnie Klon here with me. He is a pro stock racer and owner of the Mopar missile behind us here. And you know, Arnie, we came to the Motorsport Park today here in a Mopar, but it is by no means as fast as this. It's got a Hemi, but it doesn't have that kind of motor in it. Tell us a little bit about the history of this car, and I guess this was a Mopar factory back program back in the day?
Yeah, the actual program started in 1970, and what made Mopar so successful in pro stock from 1970 to about 1975 was the fact they were the first factory team to actually instrument, have computer systems in their cars and monitoring the performance of the cars. And so there was an evolution. The first car was a 1970 Dodge Challenger. The second car was a 1972 Plymouth Barracuda. The third car was this car that's just to our left here, 1973 Plymouth Duster, and then this was the final evolution from a technology development standpoint, and this is a 1974 to be raced in 1975 Plymouth Duster. What's unique about this Duster is this was state-of-the-art at the time it was built. In 1974 dollars, it cost over $250,000 to build this car. And it's built. There's a tremendous amount of use of magnesium, titanium, very exotic metals. This car, fully put together, just as you see it right now, weighs 1,850 pounds. Extremely light. That was the whole idea going to the exotic metals. But what's even more critical about it was the way it was constructed. When you take the engine out to replace it, the whole car comes apart. The whole front end, suspension, and everything is hung off of the engine front motor plate and the mid plate. The rear of the car, again, it has wires in the back of the car because there's not very much chassis in the back. The wires are used, it's called the wire car, to basically stabilize the rear of the car as it's going down track. And this is the sheet metal portion of it. The car is acid dipped, has a lot of fiberglass use. And this was the ultimate development of a pro stock car. And much of the technology that was developed by Mopar in 1970 to 1975 is still in use today, and they were the founders really of the technology that's used in many respects today. The whole idea of pro stock as a class was to sell more cars. Okay, race on Sunday, sell on Monday, and so the cars had to look like factory stock cars. Okay, that were modified obviously with slicks and everything like that, but to look as close to original as possible. The trick was to get them to go fast. And that's where the technology development that Mopar put together really accelerated their ability to sell cars and sell their products, because they were faster than the Chevys, they were faster than the Fords, and so it was really a tremendous engineering push from that standpoint. So these cars were to look like factory cars, but in fact they were scratch-built race cars from the ground up.
That one's going to the Mopar Museum one day. Thank you so much, Arnie. Thanks, man. So, Steve, we've had a day here at the racetrack at the drag strip. What do you think of the nostalgia drag racing show, muscle car show here at Galot Motorsports Park?
Oh, I've loved it today, Mark. Thank you so much. All next week, I know I'm going to be going, hello, what did you say? My hearing definitely has had a bashing today.
This has been just such a wonderful day at the track. They hold this event here for the old-time drag racers, and it is so great to see them from all over the country here in Dunn, North Carolina. The Nostalgia Drag Racing and Muscle Car Show is put on by Nancy Wilson. She's an old-time drag racer herself, and quite a lady to organize all of this. So Thanks for watching 0 to 60 by LeithCars.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook. Want to know more about the iconic Dodge Challenger RT we took to the drag strip today? Visit Leith Auto Park, Wendell.
Here it comes. This thing is loud. Hang tight. Looks like he wants the right lane. Nice bird.
That's what we're doing today.
Go.
About to do my first drag strip. Y'all pray for me.
Let's ride.
You got a seatbelt?
Huh?
You got a seatbelt?
That seat's only there because the rule says you gotta have it.
Oh, really? My new friend Mike, he's gonna save my life today.